So as I was saying, the idea of having a parent infantilizing a group of people, this is all by design. Scaring them, telling them there's a boogeyman in the wings, whether it be a Russian or a shooter who's going to kill your children or something. I mean, they have a boogeyman du jour. And the goal here is to traumatize people. It's an alchemical change they want, a transmogrification process. It's where the initiate is traumatized so many times that they raise their hands in mercy and say, give me what I need in order to escape the clutches of death. Give me safety. Give me something. Give me those arms of mom. Give me something that I can have that makes me feel safe. Don't want to die. Well, there are many ways to do this. You can guarantee the safety by having you relinquish your human rights, your civil rights, or if you are following what Klaus Schwab, the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, says. He says the fourth industrial revolution, or the Fourth Reich, is simply to change what it means to be human by merging man with machine. Now, what's interesting is that one of the more evil cohorts, or you don't even know where he stands on this issue. His name is Yuval Noah Harari, and I've talked about him before. He's the guy, and I was going to talk about him last night, and I said something to the effect that I could talk about this one guy. It would be a whole show unto itself. And I was, of course, talking about Yuval Noah Harari, okay? And what he said, and what he keeps saying in these gatherings, he's saying, well, algorithms will increasingly be used to make decisions that have historically been made by humans, either yourself or someone else, including whether or not you'll be hired for a particular job, whether you'll be granted a loan, what scholastic curriculum you'll follow, and even who you'll marry. Seriously. You wonder why they're choosing the sex of children. You wonder why they're fighting over this is because, well, they want to decide who you have sex with, who you marry, whether or not you're compatible, whether or not you're good for the purity or the T4 I've talked about before. Harari warns that if we allow the establishment of a digital dictatorship where the system, well, be it a corporation or a government, knows the most intimate details about each and every person, it will be impossible to dismantle it. Its control will be total and irreversible. I mean, if you believe, and this is what Harari thinks, he says, if you believe that your thoughts and behavior always and will remain your own, under your own control, think again. Harari says this, he says, we already have the technology to directly alter thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Here's Harari speaking about how the body can be hacked.
Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. Free will, that's over.
Free will, it's over, right? Free will is over, he says. Free will is over. Why? Because they are going to have control of the soul. And, of course, Klaus Schwab says that we need to change what it means to be human, merging man and machine. So transhumanism, they don't use the term transhumanism anymore. They use some other term. I forget what they call it. They call it something else. But it's exactly what the global cabal intends to do. This is where they're going to take us, willing or not. And there are a lot of dangers ahead with this, I'm sure. Let's go quickly, while we have some time, to Carlos in California. Hi, Carlos. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Good evening, Clyde. This topic of free will now, I wonder if they have already tempered with many people in the past with these concepts of free will. I remember going to a conference where Jordan Maxwell was the featured speaker. And he mentioned how when he was a young man, he got the urge to come from Florida to California. And when he got here, one day in a coffee shop, he met a young lady who he became infatuated with. She took him to meet her parents. And then one day while he was talking to the father, the father says, do you think you were the one to make the decision to come to California? He says, we made it for you. And A week later, he went back to see his girlfriend, and they had moved out. They were completely gone. So I think that process has already been activated in certain individuals where they control their free will.
Well, people always, Carlos,
possibly.
people always wonder, and I've felt this way sometimes, maybe you have too. People feel like they've been manipulated by outside forces. And these outside forces you're not fully aware of, and it's kind of a paranoia here. But you look back at the last 2 years during the pandemic. Isn't it a lot easier to confirm that mass manipulation takes place and it can happen on a staggering scale, and that whatever they did to get us to mask up, get our vaccines, and do whatever was phenomenally effective? Whatever they did was phenomenally effective. You have to admit this.
Oh, yes, definitely. It was very well coordinated, meticulously planned. You can see it. I mean, you can see the process of how they're gearing us towards this enslavement, little by little, and how well they concoct events. Like look at the homicides the massive homicides that occurred recently.
Yeah,
they did it just prior to the NRA convention, and in Texas was the last event. And they timed it perfectly.
Right.
Perfectly.
Well, now we have a shooting at a hospital today, which makes it, or a medical facility today, which makes it even more horrific. You've got, you can't go to the store and shop. You can't send your children to school, and you can't go to the hospital or to a clinic to get treated. Otherwise, you could be shot and killed.
Right.
Lockdowns sound pretty good right about now, don't they?
Yeah. Think about it. What are the odds that all these massive homicides within a 2-week span, or 3 or 4 of them happen within a 2-week span? What's the odds of that happening?
Right. Well,
it just doesn't happen.
So law of threes, my friend. We're having 3, and we have one with 13 deaths. We had one with 23 shootings, and we had 19 deaths. And now we have. I haven't done the official count yet on this new one. I think 4 maybe, plus the suicide of the guy who did it. So, I mean, it's happening with the triplicity again. They're doing it in numbers. They're doing this murder by numbers routine, and it increases the trauma.
And you just brought up the numerology. Look, there were 109. What was it? 109. There were 19 deaths, right? Well, the number 19 is synonymous with chaos in the esoteric.
Right.
Gematria of the free societies.
Well, there are a number of chaos numbers. There are plenty of chaos numbers that relate in certain ways. Chaos meaning chaos we learn from, chaos we fear, chaos that somehow becomes organized and we do better the next time. But see, that's the thing, is that, dime store numerology for me is fun, but sometimes you got to get an expert to come in and talk about it. And so, I don't know, maybe coming up soon, because I know that when you look at the date June 6th, you've got 6 months, 6th day, 2022. Eliminate the zeros. You got 222. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 6. So you've got 666. That number keeps coming up again and again and again and again. The trip 6. So trip out on the trip 6.